people and their dogs and their cats and all their friends and all their interested parties. I'd like to introduce you, and Walid, if you can help us to get Usha on the screen or me on the screen, because I'd like to introduce her. I see David is taking the screen there. Are you there, Walid?
Yeah, I hear you.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So I would like to introduce her. So if you can put me on the screen.
You're featured, Seth.
Oh, I'm featured, and I can't see myself. Thank you very much, Mike. Okay, as the host, maybe I'm featured whenever I speak. So I would like to introduce a special treat that we have today, because we have there in Mumbai, India, where it is 10:30 at night, and I think most people here, it is 6 o'clock in the evening. And the storyteller I would like to introduce you is a very, very well-known storyteller in India. She has performed throughout the world. She's performed in Australia, in Iran. She's performed in Malaysia, in the United States, in Thailand, and internationally online. And it is Usha. Usha, I want you to tell us your full name in a minute, because I'm not sure I can get it. But Usha is here to tell us some stories from her homeland, from India. Over to you, Usha.
Thank you, Seth, and a good evening to everybody out there, especially to Louis, and of course to David, Mike, and the World Storytelling Cafe, and of course, Seth. Thank you for introducing me. A little bit about myself. I am also a singer, a self-taught puppeteer, and a radio show host. And a storyteller. And I've also written a book for children, so an author. I'm very happy to be here, and thanks to John, I'm here today evening. So my stories are from India. Some of the names might be a little strange and difficult, but bear with me. You will understand the story. So the names might be a little difficult for you to pronounce, but here we go. So the stories that I'm about to tell you today are from India and from our neighboring country island, Sri Lanka. So the first story is a favorite of mine, and I've shared this story. The last was in Toronto at the 1001 Nights, a couple of years back, just before the pandemic. Well, here we go. Like all stories start once upon a time, a long, long time ago. In many villages in India, where oil lamps are still burned, it is believed that something strange and beautiful happens in the night. When the lamps are lowered and the flames are put out, they say that the lamp flames visit the local temple to gossip about the happenings of the day. Isn't that wonderful? Well, in one such village that nestled under the Blue Mountains in southern India, the whole village was abuzz with excitement. There was singing and dancing, and food was being prepared. A huge marquee was erected, decorated. Everyone wore their finest clothes. Children were very excited. They did not pay attention. They missed their school. The whole village was a riot of colors. The reason for all this was a young school teacher. She was called Parvati. It was her wedding. She was the daughter of a flower seller. Parvati was well loved in the village. She was vivacious, charming. She was the pride of the village, and she was getting married to the local tradesman. Now, amidst all the excitement, everyone gave Parvati wonderful wedding gifts, saris and books and pretty things for her new home. Tai. Tai means an old lady. The wisest woman in the village came to Parvati's house the night before her wedding. I'm not rich, child. I have nothing to give you, but I do have a story to share and a song that'll keep you company. Share them with everyone you know. After all, what use is a story that is not told or a song that is not sung? And Tai stretched her long old legs in front of her, leaned back against the mud wall, and she began to tell her story. The evening air grew still. Never before had Parvati heard such a story. She listened with wonder to Tai's voice that rose and fell along with the story. As the story came to an end, Parvati sighed deeply and found that she had tears in her eyes. Even as Parvati sat there, her heart and her imagination soaring, Tai began to sing. Tai's voice filled the night air. It was so melodious. It seemed to Parvati that the whole world and the village had come to pause just to listen to Tai's song. So captivating was the song that when it ended, Parvati begged Tai to sing that song again and again. And every time she sang it, beautiful. Remember, child, remember to share this story and this song. Parvati said, yes, I will, Tai, I will. And she meant every word of it. But after the wedding, Parvati came to live in Kamban's house, her husband's house, which was by the riverside. It was a small house with a thatched roof. And Parvati decorated the house beautifully with all the wedding gifts that she had received at her wedding. Her husband too had received many wedding gifts, but his prized possession was a wooden beetle nut crusher and a small carved wooden box in which he could keep his beetle nuts and leaves. And they were his prized possessions. So he kept them next to his bedside on the table and used it every single day. Now, the Parvati found that her new life kept her busy. She was fully occupied doing the housework, teaching in the school, and she helped her husband to write his accounts and also wrote letters for him because she had a very neat handwriting. And she forgot all about the story and the song. Now, the story and the song, meanwhile, were getting bored inside Parvati. They were stifled. They wanted an audience. So they sadly sang to each other. I'm a story I want to be told before I grow weary and old. I'm a song I want to be sung while I'm still lively and young. We are a story and a song meant to be heard. Every note, every word. Oh, Parvati, why won't you share us? But Parvati couldn't hear them. One afternoon, Parvati was roasting masalas. She was making a lovely Indian curry. So she was roasting coriander seeds and red chilies. And Parvati sneezed. Achoo! That was just the moment the story and the song were waiting for. They leapt out of her mouth. But you know, a story and song are spirits, so they can't just go out. They need to enter an object. They need to take the shape of real objects. So they caught sight of Kamban's beetle nut crusher and the small wooden box and entered them. And when Parvati was not looking, slowly they escaped from the house and hid themselves at the riverside. Now it was evening and Kamban returned from work. And after having his dinner, he reached out for his beetle nut crusher and the wooden box, which usually was next to his bedside table. But they were not there. He couldn't find them. He looked all over the place and he couldn't find. Then he asked Parvati, "Have you seen my beetle nut crusher and the carved wooden box?" But Parvati said, "I don't know, Kamban. They were there in the morning. I saw them in the afternoon. I don't know." But Kamban, he got upset and he blamed Parvati. He said, "You're so careless." And when Kamban got upset or angry, he stormed out of the house and went to the village temple. He straight went to the village temple, leaving Parvati confused and teary-eyed, sitting on the doorstep, on the steps of her house. Now Kamban went straight to the temple as he always did. And as he was entering the temple, he saw a strange sight. Yes, the lamp flames, of course. They had all gathered at the temple as usual, and astonished and curious, Kamban hid himself behind a pillar and he watched. The flames were laughing and gossiping loudly, talking about the day's happenings, the funny things that had happened in their houses, and news from nearby villages. Kamban leaned forward in amazement when he saw that the night air echoed with their vibrant, thrilling laughter. Then he saw something strange. A little lamp flame entered, huffing and puffing, and said, something very strange happened in my mistress's house." All the lamp flames gathered around this lamp flame and said, "What is it? Come on, tell us." "The lady in my house was cooking in the afternoon when she suddenly sneezed, and out jumped two strange beings." What? A story and a song. You know, they hid themselves in their husband's beetle nut crusher and the wooden box. And when their mistress was not looking, they escaped through the window. And they're hiding somewhere in the village. With a gasp, Kamban understood what had happened, and that lamp flame was from his own house. The other lamp flames drew closer and said, "Oh, they must be somewhere in the village. We must go and look for them." And in a flash, all the lamp flames gaily trotted away to different parts of the village, looking for Kamban's wedding gifts, the beetle nut crusher and the carved wooden box. Kamban, the husband, meanwhile, rushed home. He was very, very sad that he had got upset and cross with his wife, and he understood all the puzzles fell into place, and he rushed home to Parvati, who was sitting still on the doorstep, crying and looking very sad. Ashamed of his quick temper and for having Parvati cry, Kamban sat close to her, apologized, and told her what he had seen in the temple. Parvati slowly recalled Tai, the old wise woman who had come to her. But she didn't remember the story nor the song. Kamban wanted to hear the story and the song, but Parvati didn't remember them because now the story and the song had left her. Tired and a little dazed, they both went to sleep. Meanwhile, as they slept, strange things were happening in the village. All the lamp flames had departed on the serious mission to find the story and the song. The entire village looked like a magical place, with the little lamp flames merrily dancing around in a flurry of light, just like Christmas. By their warm glow, they cast in the darkness. The story and the song could not escape them. The lamp flames found them hiding by the riverside, from where they could see into Parvati's window. The band of good-natured lamp flames convinced the story and the song to forgive Parvati and return to her. The group of mysterious spirits quietly crept into Parvati's house through the window that night. The crusher and the wooden box returned to Kamban's bedside, and the story and the song silently and quietly entered Parvati's body once more as she breathed in softly in her sleep. Seeing that all was well, the oil lamps returned to the temple, feeling very pleased with themselves indeed. Next day in the morning, Parvati woke up with a smile. She remembered the story and the song and felt happiness flooding all over her being. And she began to share the story and the song with her husband and began to sing. Now, friends, do you see why stories must always be told and shared, and songs must always be sung? If you know a story and a song, make sure that you will share them with everyone. Otherwise, you never know, because if you stifle them, they might take their revenge. Thank you.
That's lovely, lovely. And what a good advice for us, Usha. Thank you very much. I'm sure we're all waiting for the next story. Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My next story is another favorite of mine. It comes from Sri Lanka, from the beautiful island to the south of Indian Peninsula. So this story is about Mahadanamutta. Now here the names would be a little difficult, but be patient. Mahadanamutta, meaning the one who knew everything. He was the wisest man, old man who lived in the village. Now people thought he was so wise and so clever, and he knew everything. And so they all came to him whenever they had a problem. Now Mahadanamutta had 5 pupils, students. Now they had funny names. One of them had a face like the split half of a coconut, and he was called Pol Ba Munna. Another had a body as thin as a stick, and he was called Kotukitaya. Another had a body as skinny as a sewing needle, and he was called Indikatu Pancha. Another had a belly as round and as red as a ripe areca nut, and he was called Rabadaya. And the 5th also had a belly long as an areca nut, and he was called Puvak Badila. Now they all loved their teacher very much. They were the most loyal and obedient students that any master could ask for. Now, they were so obedient that they did only those things that the teacher had asked them to, nothing more, nothing less. What they had to do was written in a book. It was called the Book of Instructions. In those days, as this story is from a long time ago, books were written in dried leaves, on palm leaves. They were also called ola leaves. One fine day, the teacher with his students, they were walking along the paddy fields. They're walking on the ridge, enjoying the beauty of the village, the greenery and the mountains at the far distance. It was a beautiful sight. Rabadaya, one of the students, was carrying the book of instructions very carefully on his head. Suddenly, their teacher, Mahadana Mutta, lost his balance and fell into the paddy field with a thud. The field was full of mud. The pupils, the students couldn't help laughing when they saw their teacher trying willy-nilly to get out of the mud. They did nothing to help their teacher. They just watched and laughed. Now Mahadana Mutta got very angry. Do something. Don't you see that I'm stuck in the mud? Do something, boys. That is true. That's true. Another one said, our teacher is stuck in the mud. What shall we do? Oh, let's look up a book of instructions, suggested one of them. Of course, of course. How could we forget our book of instructions? They looked up their book of instructions, turned the pages. They read it from cover to cover. It had all kinds of instructions. What to do when you cross the river by night, how to prevent a farmer leaving his footprints in the field, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, it did not say anything about what to do when their teacher was stuck in the mud. So what should the poor students do now? They looked at each other confused. Sorry, sir, they all cried in unison. This book does not tell us what to do when a teacher is stuck in the mud. Mahadana Mutta could not bear it anymore. Okay, bring that book here, he shouted, and bring the stylus as well. The pupils, the students took the book of instructions and the stylus, which is a pen, to the teacher. Now, Mahadana Mutta took the stylus and began to write. And this is what he wrote. And the students read it. If your teacher gets stuck in the mud, lend him your hand and get him out of the mud as fast as you can. The students were so happy, they clapped their hands. Now they knew exactly what to do. They stretched their hands to the teacher and helped him to come out of the mud. The teacher came out of the mud. What a wonderful set of students I have, thought the teacher. So obedient and faithful. Oh, what a wonderful teacher we have, thought the students. So willing to teach us what we don't know. And that was the story of Mahadana Mutta and his 5 students, all the way from Sri Lanka.
Very nice. Thank you.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
so we're waiting for another.
Yes. I hope you're enjoying. Do I have time to do one more story or 2 more story?
I think you have time. You have about 19 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me quickly do, this is a very lovely story. I heard this in Tennessee in the year 2014 from some wonderful African-American storytellers. It's called The Village Drum. Once upon a time, a long time ago in Africa, In a little village, there was a drum. Now, this drum was very special. It made everyone happy. Because it was so special, it sat in the middle of the village. Once, when there was plague in the village, everyone became involved. Old men and young infants, babies, women, children, everyone gathered around the drum. And before long, the entire region was pulsating with the drum beats. Everyone was celebrating. They gathered around the drum because they believed that this drum made everyone happy. It was the life force and the heartbeat of the entire village. And they also believed that this drum cured them. Now, the stories of this drum reached far and wide to the ears of the people who lived in the faraway villages and the town. And they would say, "Oh, I've heard that the drum is so big that you need a step ladder to climb up, and you need giant sticks to play on the drum. And you know, it can tell fortunes." And another one said, "Really? I heard that the drum possesses magic dust that travels in the wind, and as you inhale it, you will be overcome with magic laughter. Oh, I've heard that the drum grants 3 wishes to anyone who can play it." Like I said, friends, the drum was a source of happiness. Now, in a faraway village, there lived a boy who had heard stories about this drum. And he wanted to go and see the drum or get the drum for himself, because he lived in a village where everyone was sad. Happiness was hard to come by in that village. And the little boy wanted happiness not only for himself, but for the entire village. He wanted to become the hero of the village. One day, the boy, without telling anyone, left his home and went in search of this magic drum. He traveled for days and weeks and months over rivers and valleys, streams and mountains, and finally he reached the outskirts of the village. And he knew he was in the right place because he could hear the drum beats. There were celebrations going on. He could hear laughter. And as the boy drew closer, entered the village, and began to walk towards the center of the village, he saw that it wasn't a huge drum. It was a very small drum. He had heard stories about this drum, but it was a very small drum. And all the villagers had gathered around. They were singing and dancing, and they were making merry, celebrating. And he thought, that would be easy for me to steal. I could put it in my bag and slip away in the middle of the night. But the celebrations went on till the wee hours of the morning. And when everyone was asleep, they all were sleeping right in the center of the village, the boy slowly crept silently towards the drum. And as he was about to pick the drum and put it in his bag, suddenly he heard somebody clearing their throat. He turned and he saw a very old man. The man had seen what the boy was up to. And he was very wise. And he said, "Boy, you must be tired. Come home and let me give you a bowl of soup and I'll tell you stories." So the boy went along with the old man, and the old man gave him some hot soup to drink and told him many stories about his travels. And finally he said, "You know, I too had heard about this magic drum, and many years back I came to this village and I wanted to take away the drum. But the people in the village were so kind to me. They respected me. And I thought the drum was magical, and that's why the people were happy. But I realized that the happiness was already in the people. No one played the drum for weeks, yet they were happy. Happiness was inside them. The drum was just a drum. And the people were so polite, so kind. And I too practiced this golden rule. Treat others as you want to be treated. Most of all, believe in yourself, and happiness comes from within. No matter what happens, whether it rains or shines, make time to have some fun. And this is the golden rule, said the old man. When the boy heard this story, a change took place. He felt that he had to spread this message to all the villages, and he wanted to embrace this golden rule. So he made his own drum and took it to his village, and he etched these words on the drum. Happiness comes from within. Excuse me. Be polite and believe in yourself. That is the golden rule, and happiness comes from within. So he left for his village, and he shared this with his own village people. And he made them take this village oath. No matter what happens, whether it rains or shines, we are going to make time to have some fun. So everyone took that oath. And don't you think today, my friends, we too should take this village oath? No matter what happens, come rain or shine, we are going to make time to have some fun. Thank you. That was the village drum.
Very nice advice. So we have about 10 minutes. Yes, you take a drink of water. Would you be okay with 10 minutes for another story?
Yes. This is not a scary, spooky story, but I love to end the story with this story, which is written by Rudyard Kipling. He is from, this is not Rudyard Kipling. I'm sorry. This is Ruskin Bond's story. Pardon me for that mistake. And Ruskin Bond lives in India. So this is called A Face in the Dark. Mr. Oliver was an Anglo-Indian school teacher. He used to teach in an all-boys school in the beautiful hill station of Shimla in the north. Now, from before Kipling's time, the school was run on the English public school system. And Life magazine had once described or done a feature on this school and called it Eton of the East, because the school was run along public school lines and the boys wore caps, blazers, and tie, and they were from wealthy Indian families. Mr. Oliver had been teaching there for many years. He was a bachelor, and Mr. Oliver liked to go to the Simla Bazaar in the evenings. The Simla Bazaar, with its cinemas and restaurants, was about 3 miles away from the school, and Mr. Oliver usually strolled into the town in the evening, and he would return after dark, take a shortcut through the pine forests. Now, the pine forests made eerie sounds in the night because the wind would blow through the pine forest, creating sad, eerie sounds. But this didn't bother Mr. Oliver. He was not a very imaginative man, and he didn't believe in ghost stories. He was a courageous man. So he never felt fear while walking through the pine forest at night. But that night, when Mr. Oliver was walking through the pine forest on his way back to the school, he had a torch with him. The battery was pretty low, and he had it switched on, and he saw at a distance, it looked like a boy, because a boy from the school, because he had his blazer, the cap and a tie, but he couldn't see. So Mr. Oliver knew that it was past bedtime, and he called out, "Boy, what are you doing? It's late. You should be back in school." And Mr. Oliver began to walk towards the boy, and he said, "Speak up." And as he drew closer, he found that the boy was sobbing silently. His whole body was shaking. And he was sitting alone on a rock. And Mr. Oliver shone his torch and he said, "Look up, boy, look up, what's the matter?" And the boy looked up, and Mr. Oliver saw that the boy had no eyes, no nose, no ears, no mouth, just a round forehead with the school cap. Mr. Oliver started trembling and he dropped the torch. It fell from his hands. He turned and blindly began to run through the trees. He was shouting for help, "Help, help." He scrambled down the path blindly towards the school, running through the trees. Mr. Oliver was frightened, and it was dark. And as he came closer to the school, he saw the school watchman with a lantern in his hand. And the watchman called out, "Sahib, Sahib, what's the matter?" Mr. Oliver, puffing, panting, breathless, ran up to the watchman, and he was holding his stomach tight, and he said, back there in the forest, I saw this boy, a strange boy who had no eyes, no ears, no nose, no ears, nothing." And the watchman lifted the lantern and said, "Like this, Sahib?" And Mr. Oliver looked up, and he saw there was no face, no eyes, no ears, no nose, no lips, no eyebrows. And that's when the wind blew the lamp out.
Wow, you left us with a very scary story there, Usha. Thank you so much for your lovely, varied story. And you have a beautiful way of speaking. You have a lovely voice. And as I forgot to tell everyone, but you told us very importantly too, that not only do you tell stories, that you also sing, and you're a puppeteer, and with a voice like that, I'm sure you're a wonderful radio host. So Usha, thank you very much for your lovely stories tonight, and I hope you will come and tell us some more as soon as possible. But everyone, coming up already on Sunday, we've got a worldwide story round, 7 o'clock British Standard Time. On Tuesday next, we've got the Young International Storytelling at 5 o'clock British Standard Time. And next week, after the lovely session we've had from Usha, we're going to have Geraldine Nanjala, who comes from Kenya. She's going to tell us stories from East Africa. Then we have Maria Gillen from Ireland. Then we have Baba C from the United States, African-American storyteller. And then we will have me. So there's a lot in the next month. But after that lovely session, I think we should all do our silent thank you very much to Usha. And Also, we have to say thank you very much to Walid and Kamal in Marrakesh, without whom this would not have been possible. So good night, everyone.
And we have to say thank you to Seth for stepping in and doing this job so well.
Oh,
So
you're very
thank you,
kind,
Seth.
Baba C. And that's Baba C, as you probably know, who will be telling in a couple of weeks' time. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Take
very
care.
much.
To be
Thank you.
continued.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Until the next time, you're a great storyteller. I loved it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, very.
Thank you. I love the stories.
Bye-bye, David.
Bye, David. Bye, Louis. Thank you for listening.
It was great. Enjoy your swim, Louis.
Thank you.
No,
See you in
no, wait a
Marrakesh,
minute.
Seth, and talk. Oh, I'll be working with the project very soon. What we talked about.
Who are you talking to?
Seth, I haven't forgotten.
You're talking to me.
Yes, I said
Oh,
I'll
well.
be responding to that very soon.
Bye.
Later,
Bye-bye,
Louis. Have a
Louis.
great swim.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
you very much.
Bye-bye, Louis. Oh, who's that there?
Oh, nice.
Ah, Sachiko Krishnan. Oh, where are you? Where are you? Oh, it's lovely to see you. Thank you.
We're in UK.
Oh, where in the UK?
I'm in London. I'm outside Sevenoaks in London.
Oh, I'm in London too. So very nice to see you. Thank you for coming
Thank you.
along.
Thank you so
So-
much.
So lovely. Did you like the Usha stories? You did. So who's there? Tell us both your names.
My name is Anisha.
Alicia.
Anisha.
Anisha, and you liked Usha's stories? Which was the favorite? Did you have a favorite?
I think the first one.
And the
Yeah.
first one. That was lovely, yes. Thank you, Anisha. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for listening in. Lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you for captivating us all. I could listen to you all day.
Thank you. Good night.
Yes, and you think you've heard Usha before, David?
I remember the story at that.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, actually, I had a production where a friend of mine has danced, and I've told the story while she has danced and, actually visually told the story. So I don't know if David has seen that.
Maybe.
What do we all done over at weekend? Listen to me at weekend.
You want to be friends with me on Facebook? I will make you my friend. Yes.
Great.
Me
I
too,
want
me
to
too,
ask-
me too, me too.
Yes, you too. I want to ask Walid. Walid, you're there. Now, are you okay there? Because we're going over the time that you've given for us. Do you need to stop now?
Okay, yeah, sure.
I see Kamal there is serving in the, in the
Seth, they will let us go on, but we should let them get back to their other things. They're
think
always too polite. They will never tell us stop.
exactly, because
Oh.
Kamal needs to serve in the cafe. I can see him there.
Right.
So let's say good night and good afternoon, good evening. And at this point, Walid, we'll bring it to a close, and thank you so much. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you,
Thank
Walid.
you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Usha.
Big go
you.
back.
Until the next time, to be
Okay, bye
continued.
now. Bye-bye. Great. Thank you very much, Walid.
Anytime.
Thank you very much. So, ma'asalama, bislama, shukran.
Yeah, Bislama. Yeah, goodbye.
Maybe can you tell Kamal that I will see him at the end of October? I'm going to be in Marrakech.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay.
And I hope to meet you as well.
Next month?
At the end of October, beginning of November for
Okay.
9 days.
You want to visit the cafe?
Yes, of
Yeah,
course.
of course.
Bislama, shukran, ma'asalama.
Bye.
Take care. Bye now.
Bye.